Good afternoon, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to SIEWConnects at Kobe, co-hosted by the Energy Market Authority of Singapore and Mitsubishi Power. I'm Hayden from the Energy Market Authority and I will be your MC for today. With me I have Mizuki from Mitsubishi Power.
皆様本日はSIEWConnects神戸にご参加いただき誠にありがとうございます。本日司会を務めてますシンガポールエネルギー市場監督庁ヘイデン・リーと三菱パワーの川辺でお送りいたします。よろしくお願いします。
To begin today's program, it is my pleasure to invite Mr. Phua Kok Keong, Chief Executive, Energy Market Authority, to deliver his welcome remarks. Mr. Phua, please.
シンガポールエネルギー市場監督庁長官フラコック・ケオン様よりご挨拶を頂戴いたします。
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to SIEWConnects at Kobe. It is truly a pleasure to see so many of you here with us today. Let me begin by thanking Mitsubishi Power for hosting the visit to the Takasago Hydrogen Park this morning and for also co-hosting this event. Thank you very much. Envisioning energy tomorrow, building systems today is the theme for this year's Singapore International Energy Week, or SIEW in short. The theme highlights the importance of acting now to build secure, sustainable, and affordable energy systems to power our future. We announced this theme just exactly 2 weeks ago. The story of Asia's energy future is one of remarkable growth and transformation. Asia's electricity demand is projected to grow by about 5% annually over the next 10 years, so in 10 years' time it will be about 50-60% higher. And this is not just a number, it represents millions of homes, businesses, and dreams that need reliable power to thrive. This growth presents both a challenge and an opportunity. As we navigate this transition, we are examining the role of different energy sources. Natural gas has emerged to be an important energy source. Energy consultancy firm FGE has projected that the global LNG demand is expected to increase from about 400 million tons in 2024 to about 500 million tons by the year 2030. And this is about 40% increase from 2024. So a rapid increase. Although natural gas produces fewer emissions compared to other fossil fuels, it nonetheless still contributes to greenhouse gas emissions. And therefore, we have to develop various alternative and renewable energy solutions, as well as explore carbon capture and storage solutions. We will need to take an energy source portfolio approach as we navigate the energy transition journey. Different energy sources will need to find ways to work together when renewable energies like wind and solar power face intermittency challenges. Dispatchable power sources like natural gas can help to maintain grid stability. And this balanced approach helps ensure consistent power supply as we transition towards cleaner alternatives. And Asia remains a critical growth market for natural gas with ongoing expansions in domestic consumption and LNG imports. And this presents massive opportunities for investments and infrastructure development in the region. As a pioneer in energy technology, Japan has made significant strides in developing carbon capture and storage solutions, hydrogen infrastructure, and advanced energy efficiency systems. And Japan's experience in retrofitting existing power plants with CCUS technology, combined with their world-leading research in blue and green hydrogen production, creates a robust foundation for international collaboration. And Japanese firms have already demonstrated success in areas like ammonia co-firing and industrial decarbonization. And these are the solutions that many economies will need as they balance growth with sustainability. In Singapore, we are very eager to work with like-minded countries like Japan to tackle the energy challenge. Singapore is a very small country. We are just about 6 million people and 736 square kilometers, and we only consume less than 1% of Asia's total energy demand. But nonetheless, we are taking our energy challenges very seriously. As a small island city-state in the equator, we face significant threats from the impact of climate change. And this is why Singapore has committed to reach net zero emission by the year 2050. We are building our energy future on multiple paths, from solar power to hydrogen, biofuels, carbon capture, advanced geothermal, and even looking at the feasibility of nuclear energy. We have to explore all options to power tomorrow's energy needs. And no country can successfully navigate the energy transition alone. By working together, sharing research, developing solutions, implementing new technologies, we can build an energy transition that works for everyone. And I look forward to the panel discussion to follow later, where our esteemed speakers will explore key questions covering LNG infrastructure investments, the potential for hydrogen in our region, public-private partnerships, and policy frameworks that can drive energy investments forward. As our SIEW 2025 theme suggests, we must envision tomorrow's energy landscape while building systems today. So I invite all of you to join us at SIEW this October in Singapore. Together we can build an energy future that is secure, sustainable, and vibrant. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Paul. May I now invite Mr. Takao Sukui, President and CEO, Mitsubishi Power, to deliver his welcome remarks. Please note that we will be introducing our staff members according to their official title as of April 1st, 2025.
三菱パワー取締役社長、津久井隆夫より皆様にご挨拶を申し上げます。なお、弊社に関しましては、2025年4月1日付の役職にてご紹介申し上げます。
Right, good afternoon, Chairman Richard Lin, Chief Executive Paul Kang, and distinguished guests. It is a pleasure to welcome you all to the SIEWConnects at Kobe. I'd like to thank the Energy Market Authority for organizing this important gathering and for your leadership in advancing discussions on Asia's energy future. We are honored to support this event very much. Some of you have been with us since this morning, or maybe yesterday, for a tour of Takasago Hydrogen Park. And this afternoon, we continue with further discussions on the future of energy in Asia. Let me begin with a story of a country in the Pacific Ocean, a rapidly developing island. Its energy demand surged due to industrialization and urbanization. For years, this country has relied heavily on coal. Transitioning away was challenging due to existing infrastructure and economic pressures. But policy incentives and market forces made the shift inevitable. The question was not if, but when and how. If you thought I was talking about a rapidly developing nation today, you wouldn't be wrong. But I'm actually referring to Japan, and this was in the 1950s. Back then, coal accounted for more than 50% of its primary energy use. Today, some 70 years later, that share has nearly halved and continues to decline. Japan's experience here underscores a key truth. Energy transition takes time, and progress is not always linear. Strategies must be refined to balance economy and policy priorities. Each country faces unique challenges, but all must navigate this delicate balance. At the same time, our power systems are under immense strain. More communities are connected to the grid, and AI adoption has surged in the last 3 years. AI-powered searches consume 10 times or more electricity than traditional searches. As a result, data center demand is expected to grow at a speed we've never seen before, reshaping the energy landscape for years to come. These developments bring exciting opportunities for economic growth, but also raise a fundamental question. How do we ensure energy security and decarbonization while sustaining the economic momentum? While pathways differ across our region, natural gas remains a critical baseload energy source. and bridging fuel to renewables and other cleaner energy sources. The International Energy Agency estimates that Asia will account for nearly 45% of the global increase in gas demand, driven by economic expansion and industrial activity. This reinforces the need for advanced gas power solutions, like gas turbine combined cycle systems you all saw this morning. Another key advantage is their ability to enable the gradual introduction of cleaner fuels through co-firing, ensuring a stable and pragmatic transition. At Mitsubishi Power, we are taking concrete steps to support this transition. Our pioneering work in hydrogen-ready natural gas power plants is gaining traction across the region. To meet rising demand, we will strengthen our manufacturing capacity, enhancing production lines for high-efficiency gas turbines, and expanding supply chain capabilities. These efforts underscore our long-term commitment to the market and to delivering advanced, adaptable technologies that support evolving energy needs. But none of us can drive the energy transition alone, much less complete it. Government incentives, private sector innovation, and strong public-private partnerships are crucial to scaling clean energy technologies while maintaining energy security. Today, we have over 130 executives and professionals here, representing more than 60 organizations from across the region. With the spirit of collaboration in mind, I hope this event will provide you opportunities to build connections, foster a shared vision, and above all, come up with collective solutions for a better energy future. Together, let us unlock pathways for energy transition in Asia Pacific. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sukui. May I now invite Ms. Serene Chua, Assistant Director, Energy Market Authority, for her presentation. Ms. Chua, please.
シンガポールエネルギー市場監督庁アシスタントダイレクターのセリン・チュア様よりご講演をいただきます。
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Serene here from the Energy Market Authority of Singapore, and I lead the Singapore International Energy Week organizing team. So I'm honored to be here to give a quick presentation. So to do a quick start, I'll just be doing a quick run-through of Singapore's energy landscape. So as you can see here, these are the quick areas that I'll be talking on. So to start, who is EMA? We are the electricity and gas regulator in Singapore. So we work closely with our industry to ensure that we have secure and reliable energy supply. So Singapore adopts a multi-pronged approach in terms of our energy transition. So guiding that is actually the 4 switches that we look into, which cover natural gas, solar, regional interconnectivity, as well as low carbon alternatives. I will just touch a little bit more in the next couple of slides. So solar, so natural gas, which is the first one that we look at, is the source that we're using now to generate 95% of our electricity. It will remain a key energy source for us as we explore other low carbon alternatives to support our energy transition. Next, we have solar. So solar is actually the most promising renewable energy source, and we have to creatively deploy them in Singapore as we are land scarce. So we have already achieved our 2025 target, and we are working towards meeting our 2030 target. So the next one would actually be talking about import or regional interconnectivity in this case here. So we aim to import around 6 gigawatt of low carbon electricity by 2035, and as of now, EMA has already issued 10 conditional awards to Asia as well as Australia in terms of importing low carbon electricity. And the last one that will be actually low carbon alternatives. I'm actually blocking some of the information. So key topics that we are looking at include CCUS, carbon capture utilization and storage, low carbon hydrogen, geothermal as well as nuclear. So that sums up the broader aspects of Singapore energy's landscape and what we are doing to achieve our energy transition. Next, I'll be going into what I'm more familiar with, which is the Singapore International Energy Week. So SIEW, in short, is the Singapore's energy flagship energy event. We are into our 18th edition this year. And as my CE earlier mentioned, the theme for this year is actually envisioning energy tomorrow, building systems today. So a quick snapshot of the events across the week. We will start off the week with our SIEW Summit, where we convene minister, head of international organization, as well as industry leaders like a lot of you present here today, for the conversations revolving around the topic and the theme that we mentioned earlier. So we continue to work very closely with international organizations like IEA as well as IENA to anchor high-level forums, as well as work closely with the industries in other events across the week, including the SIEW Energy Insight, SIEW Tech Table, and roundtables. We have strong support from the industries and partners coming in to run events that are focused on specific topics. So more information can actually be found on our website. So some quick highlights of what you can expect new at SIEW this year. So we are also commemorating Singapore's 60th year of independence. So we will be organizing and curating a SG60 at SIEW Energy Showcase, and as well as a gala reception. We are also launching what we call our SIEW Academy this year. More details will be shared later. And of course, discussions will dive into topics including nuclear, CCUS, artificial intelligence, and biomethane. Our SIEW Summit will actually focus on 4 key areas, including envisioning Asia's energy future, as well as financing our energy future. And the key discussions will actually touch on topics including strengthening regional interconnectivity, the role of natural gas as a transitional fuel, and how do we build resilient energy systems. So just a quick glance of past speakers that have participated at SIEW, including senior representatives from Japan. We will be happy to just put up a copy of this online for you to take a look at. So as I mentioned earlier, we have strong industry partnership coming in to talk about niche topics in this case here. So we have events covering renewables, downstream, as well as natural gas. And of course, this year we have SP Group, which is our utility, bringing together a flagship event of utilities across Asia and Asia Pacific for the conversations on how they can move forward with the energy transition. And you can also expect an exhibition taking place at the same time. So we also have a series of similar events planned in the next couple of months, so taking place in London, China, as well as US. So you can keep a lookout for these events on our website. Last but not least, I have to sell this a little bit. We have sponsorship opportunities available for SIEW, and I think we will be happy to partner with all of you here to make SIEW a great event, and how you can prominently brand yourself as well as profile your thought leadership across the week. So Hayden is here with us, he's our MC, so he's the man to look for if you want to find out more. So I've come to my last slide here, so these are some QR codes that you can take note of if you want to find out more information, as well as to find out some quick details about sponsorship opportunities. Thank you, and we look forward to welcoming all of you this October.
Thank you, Ms. Chong. May I now invite Mr. Masanori Tsuruda, Deputy Commissioner for International Affairs, Agency for Natural Resources and Energy, Ministry of Economic, Trade and Industry, Japan, to present on Japan's Strategic Energy Plan and Regional Zero Emission Efforts.
経済産業省資源エネルギー庁国産資源エネルギー戦略統括調整官鶴田正則様にご講演いただきます。よろしくお願いいたします。
プレゼンテーションは出るんですか？ Okay. Well, Mr. Richard Rim, Mr. Puan Kok, and Squee-san from Mr. Powers, and friends from Singapore, and distinguished guests, and ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, my name is Masa Tsuruda.
Deputy Commissioner of Japanese Energy Agencies, and it is my greatest honor to stand here in this very important occasion today. And I'm so pleased to touch upon some points about Japanese energy policy today. Well, before that, and I just want to touch upon my selfie photo at the previous SIEW, and this is a very good photo. And well, by the way, thank you so much for inviting me to this very important occasions, and that was fantastic, and I felt the dynamism of the discussion of this, and fantastic. And well, you know, photo is always important because, you know, like for example, my wife always told me that, you know, you have so many business people overseas, but I don't know what you were doing actually. And so I showed this photo to my wife, and she said, now I understand you are actually doing a good job. Well, yes, and back to energy discussions, and well, today I just want to talk about the 7th strategic energy plan a little bit. And the point of the plan, I think, is confined in this right. And as you know, the new strategic energy plan was just adopted at the cabinet meeting last month, February 18th. And here's a point, when you look at the differences between 2023 and 2040s, for example, self-sufficiency ratios, and we have to increase from 15.2% to approximately 30 to 40%. This is a big challenge, as you know. And what is the power amount, power demand that we can expect in the future? And now we have a 985, and but it is going to be an upward trend. Like Tsukuisa mentioned, you know, due to the emergence of advanced technologies, including AI, data center, etc. And how about the power mix and renewable? We have to increase quite a lot to approximately 40 to 50%, which is a big number. And also nuclear power, yes, and we have to up to almost like a 20% from 8.5% now. And thermal power, this is very important, but at the same time, you know, we have to gradually reduce the share of the thermal power from almost 70% to approximately like 30 to 40%. And finally, energy consumption, as you can see, we need a tremendous effort for energy saving. And based on these targets, and we are very much committed to 73% greenhouse gas emission cut reductions as of 2040s. And well, this is a very big challenge, but this is something that's determined under the new strategic energy plan. Here's just an illustrative one, and but here's a question: is Japan doing well? And the red line showed that ideal pathway for 2050 carbon neutrality, and the black dotted line showed the actual emission level of greenhouse gas. So when you look at the like a 2022, we now understand that, you know, there is a crossing between the two lines, which means that at this moment Japan is on a good track. And I dare to say that, you know, many countries are suffering, struggling, you know, to achieve this kind of status, but I'd like to say that and emphasize that Japan is one of the few countries who are doing a great job. But anyway, we have to continue this effort. And here's a very, like a summary of the structure of the 7th strategic energy plan, starting from Fukushima's and talking about like a change happening and since the previous strategic energy plan, and leading key principles, energy policies, and points of the policy direction, and then respective areas, and finally ending up with the international corporations. And I just want to highlight some items and marked by red one this time. And first of all, about Fukushima's. And we can never forget about what happened in Fukushima, as you know. And the lessons and experiences learned at Fukushima is a kind of like a starting point, our energy policies. And we have to make utmost efforts in both on-site and off-site. And the recovery of Fukushima is always a top priority for the Japanese government. And here's an update and the most recently, for example, November 7th, last year, and we've succeeded in completing the trial retrieval of fuel debris left at the bottom of the nuclear pressure vessels. And Well, as you can imagine, this is not easy task, and but we did it, and this is a big step because this is unprecedented work, and by combining a different kind of state-of-the-art technologies, and still a long way, but step by step we are doing that. And treated water, yes, and thank you so much for your kind understanding about that. We are closely monitoring the safety standard about that, when we discharge them into the ocean, so that we cannot harm the oceans. And so how about the changes that we have been witnessing since the previous plan, which is 3 years ago? First, energy security, yes, and we have been witnessing a number of geopolitical events, such as Russia's invasion of Ukraine and things happening in the Middle East. And so now we understand that energy security is becoming more important than ever. And second, and rising demand for power. Well, people talk a lot about the semiconductor data centers, and Japan is not exceptional. So in the past, and we were expecting that more downward trend of power, but now we changed that, and now we have to cope with the upward trend for the demand, because those industries are quite energy intensive. And third, and now we know that there are a number of countries who are very much committed to carbon neutrality, and Japan is one of them. So there might be some competition among the country about that. And finally, and now I dare to say that there is more entangled relationship among national energy securities and economic growth and decarbonization process. And so this is a very important point. And here's a very basic idea of a Japanese energy policy. As you might know, safety is very important, and energy securities, economic efficiency, cost is also very important, and then decarbonization. And so what is the point of the strategic energy plan? This is a summary of the overall direction from the strategic energy plan. First, and how much you can secure the decarbonized power sources and what kind of price level. This is very important questions because this has a good impact, great impact on the strength of the economy or competitiveness of the economies. And second, and at the same time, that's why we have to maximize the use of renewable energies as our major power sources. But at the same time, we have to think about how to balance, because it is very dangerous to be too much dependent on certain power sources. And third, yes, and energy efficiencies and fuel switching is very important in our manufacturing sectors. And at the same time, we try to maximize the use of decarbonized power sources, such as renewables and nuclear powers. And they are not mutually exclusive. We have to make the best of those available technologies. And finally, yes, and we have to minimize the cost created by the decarbonization. If we cannot do that, it is not sustainable. And I just want to highlight some respective areas. And first of all, renewables and solar powers. Well, yes, and we've been working a lot. And some people say that Japan is not doing very well in this area, solar powers. And yes, Japan is quite mountainous, and there is not sufficient land for PVs. And but I just want to say, Japan is kind of one of the leading countries. When we look at the PV capacity ratio per non-forest land, and so I think I can say, I can justify our efforts on that. But which does not mean Japan stop at that point. That's why we've been working very hard about the new technologies, including perovskite, and which is quite flexible, and so it can be put in different areas such as walls, housing, and buildings, etc. And another point of perovskite is main material of that new technology is iodines. And luckily, Japan is the second largest producer country about iodines. So from the energy security point of view, it is also a very good one. And offshore wind power, that's also very important. The government and the companies have been conducting a number of projects across the nations, and also including the development of the technology about floating tide, for example, because Japanese coastal side is quite deep, not shallow like Europe, for example. But through this kind of efforts, and I would like to expand the offshore wind capacity currently 4.5 gigawatt, I guess, and to almost like a 35 or 40 gigawatt as of 2040s. And nuclear, yes, that's also very important. As you know, after Fukushima incident happened 14 years ago, and all the reactors once had been shut down. But after that, responding to the safety standard requested by nuclear regulatory authorities, step by step, but we are on a good track. And currently, 14 reactors are online, and most recently, like November 15th, and second unit of Onigawa just restarted. And it is the first BWR type reactor restarted, followed by the second BWR type reactor, which is the second unit of Shimane. So it takes a long time, but we are on a good track. And how about thermal power? I think this is very important because, first of all, it occupies the 70% of current power supply. And it is a very important regulating power to the fluctuation caused by big renewables. And third, and it is also very important, the inertial and synchronous power, which is essential for the safety and stability of the grid. So what is the way forward about the thermal powers? We need to maintain and secure the capacity necessary for stable supply. This is most important ideas. And at the same time, we have to reduce the amount, especially focusing on the inefficient coal-fired power plant. And LNG, this is very important, especially as a means of transition energies. So we have to focus on that. And finally, we have to promote the decarbonization of geothermal powers by employing hydrogen, ammonia, and CCUS, etc. And for the introduction of massive renewables, and we need to strengthen our grid. And so for the purpose, we need a big investment, and but this is something that we have to take care. And so how about like other new generation energies? And for hydrogens and its derivatives and like ammonia, for example, we know that there are a number of Japanese companies who have their strengths in respective areas, such as a supply side, production side, and also power generation, hydrogen-ready gas turbine, for example, and fuel cells and the shipment, etc., and also ammonia co-firing as well. And the government has been supporting the companies, close collaboration with companies, and supporting their project, such as focusing on the price gap. And as you know, there is a gap between the cost of hydrogens and the cost of the conventional energy use, such as LNG or gas or something like that. So we have to meet that kind of differences. And in addition to the price gap support, and we are going to support the capex of the facility that connect, such as a receiving terminal, to the place of the actual use of those hydrogens, and such as shared pipeline and shared tank, etc. And CCUS and the oil and gas government arm called JOGMEC is undertaking currently, I think, 9 projects across nations, and the purpose of this support is basically to create a good business model about CCUS. And I think some of the projects, and we've been working with some Southeast Asian countries as well, including Malaysia. And the international cooperation. Yes, and these are very basic principles shaping Japanese energy diplomacy. And first of all, about triple breakthrough. Triple breakthrough means we need to achieve simultaneously 3 goals. First, energy security. Second, economic growth. And third, emission reduction. And we cannot sacrifice even one of them. If we do that, we cannot receive sufficient public support. And second, various pathways. This is also very important. Yes, we share very important goal of decarbonization, but at the same time, we have to recognize the differences of the circumstances of respective region and the countries. So we have to pursue the practical energy transition through various pathways, depending on the circumstances of each country. And third, finally, Japan would like to be a realistic solution to the world. Well, frankly speaking, Japan dominates only 3% of our green GHG emissions globally, but I think Japan it is important for Japan to work for another 97% as well. So international collaboration is very important because somebody said, this decarbonization journey cannot be achieved by only one country. And based on these principles, and we'll be working for ASEC in close collaboration with Southeast Asian countries, including Singapore and Australia. Currently, we have 11 partner countries. And November last year, and we've adopted a very important document called Action Plan for the Next Decade. And it consists of 3 pillars, and you cannot see, but first one is ASEC solutions. ASEC solution includes such as the promotion of transition finance, and also visualization of GHG emission through our supply chains, so that we can create the ground for the carbon market, for example. And second, sector initiative, focusing on high emission sectors, such as power, sustainable fuels, and next generation industry. And finally, so we need to implement the individual project step by step, and currently we have more than 350 projects. We'd like to increase that, and we'd like to make those projects more feasible. And now we have new videos, and I think you've already seen at the beginning, but please check QR code and to deepen your understanding about ASEC. And thank you so much for your kind attention. And I just want to reiterate, and this year Japan is going to have an expo, Osaka Kansai Expo, starting from April 13th. And thank you very much to Singapore for creating a very beautiful pavilion this time. And I just want to say that, you're going to come back to Japan, April. So, yeah, welcome. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Tsuruda.
Can we start? Okay. Yeah, sure. Good afternoon. Actually, welcome to today's panel discussion on unlocking the pathway for energy transition in APAC. First of all, thank you very much for Singapore International Energy Week and also Mitsubishi Power for this opportunity. I actually visited Takasago this morning as well. I very much actually enjoyed the tour, so I really appreciate hosting this event. And before I actually introduce the panelists, let me introduce myself. I'm Masaru Tsuchiya. I'm a partner in Tokyo office and then a core-member of sustainability practice in Asia Pacific, doing various work on hydrogen, batteries, and some of the energy technologies. It's actually a great honor to actually host this panel in Kobe. This is a city for the practice to be one of the international depots for Japan, making really fitting to today's discussion on the topic regional collaboration between I think Japan and Singapore and Southeast Asia. Let me actually begin with a few brief remarks and actually invite the panelists. But I just want to actually give a context around LNG and hydrogen in the region and highlight some of the key challenges we face. As many of you know, I think LNG is expected to play a critical role, as you can see from previous presentation from Singapore and Japan as well, in energy transition. Natural gas essentially offers flexible, dispatchable capacity, and it can be deployed more quickly than many other alternatives. Meanwhile, actually, I've been leading hydrogen in the industry for 20 years, but it's widely seen as an essential solution for deep decarbonization. However, in recent months, as you may know, project demand growth has stagnated, right? And it's due to, I think, the capital costs and slower than expected cost reductions and ongoing regulatory uncertainties. And for LNG, I think the demand is projected, I think, increase towards 2040. On the other hand, I think my understanding is one of the challenges we've been facing is what's actually happening beyond 2040. Some say I think demand actually peaks in 2030s. Others say I think the demand is going to actually increase beyond or through the 2050s. And then that actually creates substantial challenges for essentially the LNG essentially investment because long-term I think visibility on the investment is essential in making the capital intensive I think the investment like LNG. And if you think about some of the delays and gaps in the deployment on LNG, could risk more carbon intensive actually fuels to come in. So that will be an important context. And also looking at the regional, I think the landscape, Japan, historically been dominating the LNG market, as you may know. I think the accounting close to like 40% of the global market, in my understanding, like 20 years ago. But we actually been shifting the energy, as I think the Mehdi actually mentioned in the previous slide. and also rising demand for other regions. So now probably we are less than 20% in the LNG market. So therefore, I think for Japan, I believe it is important to have deeper collaboration with the region for the energy security. And from Southeast Asia's perspective, I believe that energy is growing substantially, and it is important to balance energy security and decarbonization. And I think the corporate in Japan is seen as the important technology and investment partner for Southeast Asia, and I believe that relationship has become increasingly important, in my opinion. And also, I think public-private partnership becoming also important as well. So that's the overall context, and then that's the reason I think like to have this panel really discussing about energy transition and the regional collaboration. So we are fortunate today and joined by I think the distinct experts, bridging I think the deep expertise on policy, finance, and industry. From your left, I think the Mr. Keisuke Sadamori. He's the director of the energy market and security at the IEA. We offer the global perspective of energy transition pathways and market. I think evolutionary. And then thank you very much. And we have Mr. Hiroki Sekine. He's a managing executive officer and global head of infrastructure and the environmental finance at the JBIC, with deep experience in finance and energy infrastructure across Asian emerging markets. Last but not least, Mr. Vincent Lam. He is actually head of the gas and LNG commercial at SEMCO. Will share on-the-ground insights on gas markets and practical aspects of energy transition in the region. So thank you very much for joining us today. Maybe before get into the questions, I would like to actually invite our speaker to introduce themselves briefly. So could you start from Mr. Sadamori? Briefly introduce yourself.
Thank you. Thank you, and good afternoon to everybody. My name is Keisuke Sadamori. I'm the Director of Energy Markets and Security at the International Energy Agency. You may know that the IEA is based in Paris, so you may wonder why I'm here today. And actually, when I saw Mr. Jonathan Goh in Abu Dhabi back in January, he asked about my attendance to this event, and I immediately said yes, assuming that there is no chance that I'll be there. But then I'm here in Japan because this week our executive director, Dr. Tatsubiro, they visited Japan, and I'm here for supporting his visit. We went to the Kashiwazaki-Kariwa nuclear power plants. As Tsuda-san said, that the Japan is working on the restart of the nuclear power plants, and so we paid visit to express our support to the need for the restarting of the nuclear power plants, and also the meeting with the Prime Minister and the METI ministers to convey the urgency of the need for the restarting, and also the support to the strategic energy plan. Now, before moving into the subject, a little bit of a PR. So first of all, thank you very much for the Mitsubishi Heavy Corporation Industries and the Singapore the EMA for including me in this important event. But the IEA has just established the Singapore Regional Cooperation Center. And so we would like to enhance our relationship with Singapore, including the SIEW, participation to the SIEW. We will organize the governing board meeting in October, in the week of SIEW in Singapore. And also we would like to work more with the countries in this region, Southeast Asia, for enhancing the cooperation in energy security, but also clean energy transition. So thank you, and I look forward to the discussion today. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. First of all, many thanks to Singapore EMA for having me today. And I'm really honored to be here to share my view on how to collaborate together for decarbonization across the region. My name is Hiroki Sekine, Global Head of Infrastructure and Environment Finance Group of JBIC. Under the JBIC, I cover almost all of the infrastructure projects across the world. But among them, the decarbonization or energy transition is the top priority in my team. I'd like to little bit share my background. My background is very much project financing in energy sector across Asia. Frankly, I've been throughout my 30 years career. I've been involved in almost all of fossil fuel type power plant across Asia. So particularly coal. So people call me the coalman or coalman. But now I want to shift to the green man or so some energy transition guys. I'm allocating a lot of energy in promoting the energy transition. However, we are still very much open to the providing finance for the gas solution, because we believe that gas is a very practical solution in order to accelerate the shift from the current situation towards the eventually net zero. So I'm looking forward to the discussion today. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Vincent. So I head up gas and LNG commercial in SEMCOP Singapore. I would like to thank EMA for the invitation today, as well as Mitsubishi Power for the tour and sponsoring this event. Saw our SEMCOP machine wrapped up, present, ready to ship out. Can't wait for it to arrive on site. Thank you. So as for myself, I look after the financial performance of the gas business in Singapore. Primarily, we import up to 30% of Singapore's gas supplies, focusing on pipe gas imports as well as LNG imports from around the world. We also look at optimization and gas sales to our customers, primarily for power generation and as well as industrial customers. On a global sense, SEMCOP Group also operates in 11 countries. We have a power generation portfolio of 25 gigawatts, mainly actually more in renewable, in 17 gigawatts, wind, solar, mostly in China, India, and thermal power assets in China, Southeast Asia, as well as India, Bangladesh, and Middle East. So I'm very happy to be here today and look forward to the discussion. Used to be the coal man, still called the gas man. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very nice introductions and very excited to start. So to kick things off, I just want to do a quick round robin, asking the same question to all of you. You all actually mentioned about this potential of LNG. So I just want to start the question on LNG potential. And if you think about the role of LNG in the region, what is one key unlock that's probably needed to happen for us to fully realize its potential? Maybe anybody can start.
Okay. So we release the Southeast Asia Outlook every other year, and so in there, while we expect all the energy demand growth going forward comes from the developing country, and the Southeast Asia actually has almost like a 1/4 of the additional energy demand going forward. So this is a growing region, of course, with the economies and population, and so energy demand will have to grow. So in that respect, the region will need to use more oil and gas, in particular natural gas. And we also have to remember that while Sekine-san and Vincent may want to transition away from coal man, but this region has not transitioned away from coal, not at all. Just last year, the coal consumption hit all-time high, and nearly 80%, 77% of global coal are used in only 3 regions: China, India, and ASEAN. So that means that in order to switch from the fuel switching from coal to natural gas for the cleaner energy transitions, natural gas will have an enormously important role to play. So we have to take advantage of the situation. And I think that for those the developing Asian countries, the affordability of LNG will be the crucial question going forward. But from now to the 2030, we are expecting a very large wave of the additional LNG capacity being commissioned. We expect that to be around 270 BCM, which is an enormous size, and this is a very good opportunity for the buyer's market. So I hope that the Asian countries, including those Southeast Asian countries, can take advantage of the situation and make an investment. But also for that, we need to have a kind of a long-term outlook for the secure supply for the LNG, of course beyond the 2030. So I think that the global discussions between the responsible producers and consumers will also be very important to make sure that the kind of investors has enough confidence into this the area of the market. Thank you.
I think I just would like to echo what Sadamori-san mentioned, because Sadamori-san covered all of the important aspects. Actually, as Sadamori-san mentioned, I think the gas was a very practical tool to reduce quickly the carbon emission across Asia, given the current circumstances. However, we have to draw the long-term pathway towards finally net zero, regardless of 2050 or 2060. Otherwise, the financial party cannot last this kind of financial provision to the gas-related project. So therefore, in order to realize such kind of long-term direction, I mean the trajectory toward pathway, the innovation on decarbonization technology is key to success, how we can continue our support toward the gas-related projects. So therefore, I can share that one keyword, innovation on the tech. Thank you.
I think from SEMCOP's perspective, as very close with our energy customers in Singapore, I think they are also looking for energy transition. They are looking for a way to transit towards gas-fired power to renewable energy. I think today we saw a lot in the tour around infrastructure being flexible, being able to having 30% hydrogen ready and stepping up all the way to 100%. One key unlock could be innovation in the way we contract with our customers, as well as how we get supplies contractually and commercially. So we have some success in that in terms of selling power that translate them to a renewable source when the time comes and when there's scalability. So, but when we look more upstream in terms of LNG contracts or even pipe gas contracts, they're very traditional, and what we know for sure is the customers want price certainty. And perhaps one way is to encourage our LNG suppliers to also innovate and then sniff through certain pathways to renewable energy, whether it's hydrogen supply or bio LNG, that then able to put through as one single commercial contract. And I think that will help to also tie in together the infrastructure and provide a lot for the energy transition.
Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts from different angles. Then actually, let me ask about each question. I think question to the panelists a little bit. And probably starting with Sadamori-san, I think you mentioned about this importance of affordability and also demand for the LNG. And I think that's very important from the energy security perspective. At the same time, if you deploy LNG, some folks mentioned that energy essentially transitions global push for the emission reduction, maybe a little bit slowing down a little bit. From IEA's perspective, looking at growth technology, well, how do you see this kind of balance essentially between this energy security and the emission reduction? Any perspective from your perspective?
I would like to add the point that while this region of Southeast Asia will continue to see the very robust growth in the energy demand, that domestic production of oil and gas will decline, is already declining. So that means that that leads to the larger number of import goods for the region. So in that respect, the affordable energy, but also for the energy security and also the climate change mitigations, the region needs to explore the cleaner the energy sources. So they have to do their best to maximize the energy efficiency improvement opportunities and also introduce the renewables, the wind and solar, to the extent possible. So that's something necessary. But even with that, I don't think that would be able to take care of all the additional energy demand. So here, the natural gas will have a very important role to play. So I think in that respect, for the energy security, but also the sustainability, affordability, economic growth, I think natural gas's role is very important in this region.
Thank you very much. And then maybe going to Sekine-san, I think you mentioned the importance of innovation in your previous answer. At the same time, I think the security, affordability, demand is also important, as Satomori-san mentions. And from financial institution perspective, it's a little bit conflicting. Sometimes if you invest in LNG, this technology wants to be used until like 40 years from now, 50 years from now. But at the same time, for decarbonization challenges, we need some innovation. From a financial institution perspective, how are you balancing it? What are the key challenges or opportunity for you actually in doing that?
Thank you for tough question. Yeah. Actually, in the short term, everyone understands the gas should play a key role in providing sustainable supply to the energy. That should be addressed the increasing demand of the consumer side. And also now the data center investment, big bunch of data center investment differentiates the landscape of energy demand. So therefore, we need gas. We understand that. So in order to get affordable gas, we have to provide support for entire supply chain of gas, including upstream and downstream and middle stream. So that's a very tough job actually for financier to convince the community why we are providing our finance for the new gas exploration. So it's tough. In order to convince the community, we have to draw the long-term energy transition strategy. So whenever we consider our finance to every part of the gas-related project, we usually assess the long-term strategy on the energy transition at country level and at company level and even at project level. So with that, after we finance, we will engage with the company and country in order to realize such kind of decarbonization strategy. The decarbonization strategy requires innovation. So therefore, once we finalize our finance, then after we will work together with partner to realize innovation in order to make that decarbonization strategy happen. So that's our long-term strategy.
It's very interesting. I think the long-term strategy is really important, right? So not the near term. It's really enlightening. And then, I think Vincent, we saw your gas turbine in Takasago today. So you recently made some investment in LNG to some degree, right? So, and then financial institutions feeling the challenges from energy company perspective. What are the key challenges for you? And for example, you recently made an investment in LNG. What was such a trigger essentially investing into LNG under current circumstances for the energy transition?
Yeah, it's definitely challenging for hydrogen type investments. It's high capital cost for the infrastructure. And I think importantly, the demand is not clear, and LNG just provides grid stability, cost competitiveness. So I think but I think we all have a role to play, especially governments and large corporates. So SEMCOP here, we went ahead and invested in the hydrogen power plant, 30% generation of hydrogen by volume. And we have also taken other small steps and wins to transit. One example is with PLN, looking at green hydrogen production in Sumatra, and also with TGI to build the hydrogen pipeline into Singapore, connecting through the Raoul Islands. And I think in India also, the SEMCOP team has also invested into trying to explore green hydrogen and ammonia production into Japan, about 720,000 tons of green hydrogen, and the actual offtakes already agreed, around 100 of green ammonia through Kyushu Electric as well as Sojitz. So these are small pathways that we think will build towards a scalability of how we can then further invest into hydrogen-ready infrastructure.
Got it. Very interesting insights. Actually, by the way, I think I forgot to mention, but after asking probably 3 or 4 more questions, I think I plan to actually open the floor for the questions. So if you have a question, just please note it now. Switching topic a little bit, but I think I just want to look at a little more macro perspective globally, because you've been actually in IEA. If you think about the recent event happens, right, essentially like geopolitical events happen in the US, the Trump administration, Europe, and the Ukraine crisis, and then, what's actually, in your perspective, what actually these events actually influence, maybe the energy transition? So what are, significant changes or impact? What are the implications for Asia in terms of the LNG and also the net zero transition?
So we are kind of facing what is called the energy trilemma. So we have to take care of the energy security concerns and climate risks under this ongoing increasing geopolitical debate. So this is a huge challenge. So I would say that the international cooperation is becoming a lot more important, all the more important with this current conditions. And also, I need to point to the increasing uncertainty as to the speed of energy transition. So World Energy Outlook, the last year's version, had one chapter dedicated on this, the uncertainty issues. So if the transitions to the clean energy systems become a bit slower than assumed, whether the speed of EV penetration or the kind of development of alternative sources, the oil and gas demand is likely to increase to that amount. So the point is that we need to be prepared against such cases. And I think that looking at the current conditions, of course, energy transition is happening, and it's happening rather fast. But at the same time, the electricity market report, for instance, makes it very clear that the additional electricity demand in the coming few years can all be met by low carbon sources, renewable and nuclear. This is a very good news. But at the same time, this shows that the electricity to be provided by the fossil fuel power generation does not go down, not at all. So, and depending on the kind of the speed of growth of the entire electricity demand, with the more air conditioners or the AI data centers, if it grows faster, then there's a limit to the speed of expansion of low carbon sources. So that means that there may be an increasing role for this fossil fuel power generation part. So we need to be prepared against that sort of kind of uncertainties and make sure that there will be no shortage, no blackouts in our electricity and energy systems.
Got it. It's beginning quite challenging in many ways. It's extremely difficult to predict that in the future. And that will also a challenge for the financial institution, I believe. And then I talked about in the last time about challenges on this kind of roadmap you mentioned about the important to have a long-term vision. I want to talk about, we oftentimes hear about some of the financial mechanisms, some innovations like blended finance and other mechanism instruments. Any you view are there any for example innovative financial instruments we can use, any emerging trend from the banks in facing these kind of uncertainties in energy transitions today?
I feel like everyone would like to discuss the blended finance. Blended finance should be the magic to solve everything. But I don't think that blended finance doesn't solve everything. So the issue facing right now is not lack of the capital flow towards renewable energy or energy transition, but rather the lack of the bankable project. So everyone mentioned the role of PPP. However, designing the bankable PPP is key to success, but usually the government spends a long time in concluding the structure of PPP. That will reduce the appetite from the private sector to do that. So that will increase the cost due to the inflation right now. So therefore, the challenge we are facing is the actually lack of speed of the frankly, policy decision on the PPP structure. That is the one thing I'd like to address. However, in addition to that, I believe that the government intervention in innovation or hydrogen space is necessary. As Suda-san mentioned, Japanese government introduced a kind of the CFD structure for the supporting private sector to do that. I understand Singapore is supposed to do the same. So that kind of the quick decision for inviting private sector into the space which we would like to promote is the key to success. In that case, so government intervention is necessary, but blended finance doesn't resolve everything. So therefore, the combination. In addition to that, we have actually two operations. One is normal operation, and the other one is special operation. And under the special operation account, we are able to take more risks. And on that account, we provided finance for geothermal energy project in Germany, which introduced a very cutting-edge technology. This is the kind of the first of a kind project. We provided project finance for that. But at the same time, the project received the subsidy from the EU. So EU subsidy makes the project happen. So at the first stage, I think the government intervention in the innovation sector is key. And after that, I think the private sector can make a lot of effort to reduce the cost. And they don't require any kind of additional support. That is a success story. So I call that kind of scheme real blended finance. But on top of that, we are working together with other public sector like MDBs, ADB, IFC to make project happen. And also we form that kind of the public financial sector community with Australia and US, other parties. Actually, we have the financial framework to provide the green finance for Vietnam together with the US public financial institution and Australian public financial institution. That would push that kind of investment in the space of the energy transition. So we can duplicate that kind of framework into other countries. So that is another type of the blended finance. We can work together with other public financial agencies to make project happen. So, thank you.
Yeah, very interesting. Yeah, we need to define the blended finance differently from government and private power. We talk about, I think, LNG a lot, but actually, by the way, I think this is going to be the last question. I probably actually invite the audience to ask questions. If not, I'll actually take previous remotely to ask more questions. So please ready for that. And Vincent, I think we talked, multiple times about LNG. So far, I just realized I haven't talked too much about the hydrogen now. Then when we talked in Takasago, you mentioned about hydrogen opportunity, hydrogen ready, gas turbines, one good opportunity. And then if you think about all the discussion, this flexibility and adapting to the external environment is very important for you to run the project as well. Maybe can you just elaborate a little bit about how you see the hydrogen, and then how from your perspective any applications, and then how do you see the role of hydrogen essentially in Singapore?
I think hydrogen has a role to play. I mean, EMA has also launched a grant call for, say, pre or post combustion hydrogen produced from natural gas with carbon capture to get blue hydrogen. So I think that's one avenue. I think SIEWConnects looking at it. We have also consciously looked into other hydrogen opportunities around the region and find pathways to bring it to Singapore. I think other than hydrogen, we are looking at power imports. I think that's one credible pathway. We have recently imported around 50 megawatts of renewable electricity from Malaysia. And I think just this morning there was also an announcement around building a solar farm floating for 25 years, renewable agreement with Meta. And this kind of small projects will help to not just integrate together with hydrogen, and SIEWConnects as us being very close to our customers, we can offer a suite of services. We do able to bundle the traditional together with some of these renewables into our contracts and supply them the necessary transition to renewable.
Very good. And well, I'd love to actually keep this discussion among us, but I'd like to actually invite several questions from the audience this time. Please just raise your hand if you have any questions. Otherwise, I will continue asking the question, but I will have one or two before we go. No much? Okay. Did I continue? Okay, so maybe I'll just continue in a little bit more. So we talk about this, hydrogen potential so far, but in the MHI, the Mitsubishi Power today as well, we saw the ammonia flexibility as well. I just want to actually think of how would you see other type of fuel in Japan, for example, ammonia has been discussed, since the fuel in methane in this discussion. How would you see from maybe each one of you, how would you see like the other type of fuels opportunities going forward?
First of all, it was a very good opportunity for us to see the MHI's, the most advanced technologies in hydrogen, natural gas. And I was really impressed. But looking at those excellent technologies on the supply side, I'm becoming more worried about what's happening on the demand side in terms of the off-take commitments. And also, back in 2023, that was based on the request from the G7 Japanese presidency. We produced a report on the kind of business case for the ammonia co-firing in the coal-fired power plants. And of course, it's a rather simple estimate, but the conclusion is that we would need very strong incentives for allowing the ammonia to be co-fired in the coal-fired power plant, which is basically the around $120 or $130 of carbon pricing, and because of the very the expensive nature of the fuel, it cannot be used for baseload, so it should be used for the flexibility, kind of a peak, responding power generation. So that means that the electricity systems needs to reward the flexibility contributions, needs to pay a lot higher electricity tariffs for the generation, and there needs to be an infrastructure cost to be shared by other industries. So if those conditions can be met, maybe the partial, it's not the full ammonia 100%, but the co-firing of ammonia could be cost competitive against the normal coal-fired power plants. So this is a very high bar, and I'm not sure to what extent the Japanese government is ready for applying this very substantial the CO2 pricing. So I think that of course we are seeing very good progress in terms of the technology development, but what we need to see is the real progress on the demand side.
I think that Sadamori-san raised a very tough agenda. Who will pay for the cost of energy transition? Frankly, I don't have any answer, but first of all, we need to develop carbon pricing, actually, definitely. So that will reduce the gap between the cost of production and the price. But the good news for us is that the hyperscaler is ready to pay more on the energy, I mean the green energy. So that is a new outlet. So that means first we can provide a higher pricing electricity to who is ready to pay for that. So like a hyperscaler, Amazon, Google. And then after that, throughout that period, we need to push the cost down to provide more energy to the community. So both, we need to develop the carbon pricing, and we need to differentiate the price depending on the customer. So I don't want to say that, but actually the hyperscaler or big data center is now ready to pay for that. That is the reality. So we need to take the opportunity of that kind of shift.
Yeah. finding customers for ammonia power generation stuff. But never say never. I think we are part of the two shortlisted consortiums to look at ammonia for power generation. 50 megawatts or 60 megawatts, I think possible to find a home for it. We are trying, and it involves the entire infrastructure to be built all the way from well to wake and into Singapore. But we are confident, and I think maybe there will be some form of transition, starting with blue and then transiting to the green, something more economical in the meantime.
One more chance. Any question from the audience? Could you raise your hands? Okay.
So maybe a question to Ihsan, because you mentioned gas as like a transition fuel for short term. So what would be your definition for short term, and has that changed from like 3 or 4 years ago to today? Has your views changed in that sense?
Okay. Currently, we feel we can coordinate co-financing with private sector to support the gas solution. At this moment, we can find partner to do that. However, for the project which lasts beyond 2050, the situation will change. So my definition of short term is before 2050, and after 2050, we need more rigorous strategy for convincing the community or shareholder or private sector. We are a governmental financial bank, that we are ready to continue. We are ready to continue support for the necessary infrastructure for community. However, we want to work together with private sector, and otherwise we can't do every necessary demand. So therefore, my definition is 2050, because every private sector is looking at that field.
And that hasn't changed in the past few years?
That hasn't changed. Now, it's frankly easy to find a co-partner to provide finance for gas. However, the momentum regarding 2050 does not change recently.
One or two more questions?
My question is also for Sekine-san. I think I work in a bank, and I totally agree with you that there is enough capital available to do the projects, but not that many projects because of the pace of movement, especially from policymakers, especially in Southeast Asia, Vietnam, Indonesia, amongst others. Can we hear from you what are the activities that you are undertaking to unlock or accelerate this movement towards these projects becoming more bankable and more advanceable sooner rather than later?
Thank you very much thank you very much for good question. In order to unlock that kind of the situation and to break that kind of the stumbling block, JBIC together with Japanese METI established a bilateral policy dialogue with the country like Indonesia, Vietnam, or Philippines, or even Malaysia, in order to, I didn't say Singapore because Singapore government will make a very quick decision. We don't need a kind of the bilateral dialogue, so elite in that region. So, however, given the current situation very slow, so we established the policy dialogue, and under the policy dialogue, we identified each promising project and highlighting the bottleneck, and then we will decide when and how we can solve that among the small party. I think that kind of mechanism will work well, and at least contribute to driving the movement towards getting the more bankable project. And after that, I would like to work with you.
One more question from the floor? should I take advantage of being moderator more time? So maybe just quick, quick actually question for each of you. You know, we talk about this LNG is very important energy security. At the same time, you also talk about energy transition, importance of innovation, right? To some degree from Sekine-san and others. Like from each one of you, what are like your expectation? Like what would be the wish list in your what's your wish list is for innovation for you? Just wanna get your thoughts from each one of you.
I may not be so much about the innovation, but I think that the Asian region should take advantage of this kind of mature technologies of renewables, the wind and solar. But for that, there needs to be a very kind of stable and predictable government support, including the financing, and also the kind of the transparent and predictable electricity market systems, and interconnections of power systems, power grids, amongst the Asian countries, which has been talked about for long years and taking a lot of time to achieve, because this region is so diverse. As the map shows, it's a multiple pathways for the decarbonization, energy transitions for this region. But I think that overall, the existing mature technologies of variable renewables that needs to be kind of adapted to different maximum first.
Okay.
Today I participated in the special tour to Takasago, escorted by MHI. I was quite impressed by the progress of innovation in the hydrogen space and other CCS or something like that. So that's beyond my expectation. So therefore, I feel the hope in the space of innovation. Of course, we have to make the collective effort to put the price cost down in order to really provide to the commercial phase, provide that kind of technology to commercial phase. So that is one of the technology. In addition to that, most recently, JBIC is very drawing our attention to the potential of biofuel. So biofuel can contribute to quick reduction of carbon emission by automobile, mixed with the effort of automobile industry of efficiency. So I can add another comment on the MHI. I was also impressed by the continued effort of efficiency. So J3s, I think got 64, while the 62 for the previous series. So that kind of the continuous effort is also categorized into innovation. Innovation doesn't necessarily mean that big jump. The innovation involves the kind of the continuous effort. So even 1% can contribute to the earth. So therefore, I'm very drawing my attention and our team's attention to the promotion on biofuel. Thank you.
Maybe coming back to gas again. Maybe one wish list will be to explore every part of the value chain for LNG from the wells and really reducing the carbon intensity of it at every stage. From the well to the liquefaction plant to the shipping. Maybe the answer is already there. The infrastructure is there. What if we could reduce the carbon intensity for it throughout that value chain to close to almost as low as renewable energy or zero? So that's my ideal thinking, but hey, never know.
But very interesting. I asked the question of innovations and actually push about mature technology importance and the continuous improvement. So maybe I think I would just start closing the session a little bit. Just a quick question for each one of you. If there's one action you believe governments, investors, or industry leaders should take now to accelerate the progress, what would it be? What action?
The long-term credible the energy systems to incentivize low carbon electricity systems. I think that's the most important part of the government action.
I have already mentioned about the importance of government intervention in the innovation space. So therefore, the government leadership in that space is key to success. So I hope we can work together with all government.
Yeah, I think echo the same sentiments. Capital allocation, investing by governments as large corporates. So Singapore has already committed another 5 billion in the latest budget. SEMCOP, past 2 years, have also committed 10 billion to invest in renewables. I think more could do the same, and collectively we can solve this problem together.
Very interesting. So importance of government is actually there. There's also a lot of actually private collaboration, I guess. So I think as we discussed in there, I think path ahead for us to really balance energy security, decarbonization, quite I think undoubtedly complex in my opinion. But I think it's also a great opportunity for us to collaborate, right? Government, private, at the same time I think Singapore and Japan. So I believe it's going to be a very exciting moment for us as well to enhance our presence in energy markets and really be a role model for the other regions. So without further ado, I'd like to actually hand it back to the organizer to take us forward. But thank you very much for your staying here, and thank you very much for your listening to this session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, speakers. May we now invite you back to your seat.
パネリスト、モデレーターの皆様、有意義な議論をありがとうございました。
As we approach the end of our program, we are honored to invite Masanori Yuri, Senior Fellow, President and CEO of the GTCC Business Division of Energy Systems and Head of Takasago Machinery Works, to share a few words.
それでは三菱重工業エナジードメインシニアフェロー GTCC 事業部長兼高砂邸宅所長由利正則より閉会のご挨拶を申し上げます。
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. And I think you are all very thirsty. So my closing remarks should not be so long. So don't worry. Okay, so again, thank you very much for everyone for being a part of the SIEWConnects at Kobe today. And for me, it's very much meaningful, my pleasure to witness the exchange of the ideas and discussion. I learned a lot, and MHI is a technology provider, so to learn what's going on in the market from the professional like you, specialist, and to learn is really important to decide what kind of technology we should develop for the next generation. In this sense, today's discussion is very much important for me. And I want to express my heartfelt appreciation to all the speakers and the panelists and participants here for your thoughtful contribution. Thank you. And through today's discussion, I believe that we've gained the fresh perspective and discovered new possibility for collaboration. The keynote speeches and the panel made one thing very clear. Technology, policy, and market must work hand in hand to advance the energy transition across Asia and Pacific. To shape the future of energy, we need two things: reliable solution and strong partnership. Whether it's hydrogen infrastructure or LNG terminal and storage, each of us has a role to play. At Mitsubishi Power, we believe that the progress happens when expertise meet partnership. That's why we are committed to supporting a sustainable energy future for Singapore and for the entire region. But let's not stop here. Let's turn today's idea into real-world action, into projects and partnership that can truly make difference. Today's theme, unlocking pathway for energy transition, is timely and powerful. And Kobe is a perfect place to take over next step together. So I warmly invite you to join us for the networking session. I hope it will be a chance to build new connections and spark new collaboration. Thank you again, and I look forward to speaking with many of you shortly. Thank you very much.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Energy Market Authority, we would like to thank you for joining us today at SIEWConnects. And we would also like to thank Mitsubishi Power for making the SIEWConnects possible. We look forward to welcoming you at SIEW 2025, taking place on the 27th to 31st October at Marina Bay Sands, Singapore.
本日はご参加いただき誠にありがとうございました。両者を代表して心よりお礼を申し上げます。次回のSIEW2025年でまたお会いしましょう。
May I now invite you to take a look at your badge? This is a special design to be kept as a memento. Simply peel off the name sticker and you can use it as a fridge magnet.
皆様のネームバッジはシールを剥がすとマグネットとしてお使いいただけますので、ぜひ冷蔵庫などにつけて記念品としてお持ち帰りください。
We will also be taking a group photo on level 4, Bamboo Room. Please join us and follow the staff and Mitsubishi Power staff. Mitsubishi Power staff is wearing a red pocket square.
この後4階にて写真撮影とネットワーキングを行います。赤いポケットチーフをつけた三菱パワーの社員についてご移動ください。
Thank you and have a good evening ahead.
本日は誠にありがとうございました。